I'm Vayishlach Yehoshua, Oy sign, and we're explaining the inyan of the Maila of the Levushim. That the Levushim HaNefesh, even though they're only called Levushim HaNefesh, which means they're an external part of the spiritual makeup of a person, at the same time, there's a plus in these Levushim HaNefesh, thought, speech, and action, and that is on a number of levels. One is that it is the tool through which we do Torah mitzvahs. Learning Torah is with your mind. Speaking words of Torah and mitzvahs and brachas, davening, benching, and words of Avos Yisrael is with the mouth. And with the action is putting on tefillin, giving tzedakah, wearing tzitzis, lighting Shabbos candles, etc. So the Torah mitzvahs are given for us to do physically. We're using Levush Nefesh. Therefore, the neshama is uplifted into fulfilling the will of Hashem. Not limited to its own expression of Ava of Yira, but the connection to Hashem's Ratzon, which is Bligvul, without limit. And that is what the opportunity is being given to Neshama Lamata here. Also, we find that the Levushe HaAdam are the garments of a person, lift the person up. So sometimes you can feel better. Your spirits can be lifted if you have a new piece of clothing. Or, and the clothing can affect a person's mood, how they act, their attitude towards things. It puts you in the mode, in the zone, so to speak. Clothing lifted up. Reb Yochanan in the Gemara said that he found that his clothing gave him honor. That's what we find. The reason for this is clothing. Well, why should clothing, something made of cotton, grows out of the ground, a plant, why should that lift up the spirits of a person? Person's meseichel, midos. He's on a higher level totally than the aspects of the plants and a sheep. A wool of a sheep. He wears a nice garment made of wool, a cashmere sweater or suit, and he feels good. Why should that affect him? The Kabbalistic reason is, in other words, the pneumistic reason, the chayes. How's the world made? So there's levels. Starting from below, above is daimim, inanimate, sameach, everything that grows, chai, things that move, and madabim, people. So this is, for our world, is bottomed up. Daimim, sameach, chai, madabim. And the general rule is that the lower it is, comes from a higher source. And you can understand this in a little bit like this. Something which is more spiritual, we would feel is closer to Hashem. Is that the ultimate emes? Not exactly. So something which has feelings, something which has seichel, something which moves, that's got more chayas. So you would think that's closer to Hashem. It's more spiritual, more energy. Something with less energy, you would say, is further away. So you say, okay, a person's got seichels, got feelings. This has a spiritual content. Animals are alive and they run around. There's a certain level of pain and suffering with animals also. Then you have plants. Plants don't have that level of running around and feelings, but they grow. Then you've got the most unlively energy of things made, less energy, minerals, dirt. And it's very strange that you have, when there's certain qualities of things that come from the ground that have a very big impact on a person. For example, jewelry. And we have that with jewelry can enhance a person's feeling about themselves, and until you have a crown of a king, where the diamonds, jewelries, etc., the precious gems, you had it on the Kohen Gadol's clothing, but there's no life. There seems no spirituality on that level in it. So, from a different vantage point, you say, well, Hashem is unlimited. So he's not limited to what we would call spirituality. Therefore, he can make something which doesn't seem to have any content whatsoever, a piece of dirt. And we say in davening, "Kulon b'chochma asisa," which the simple touch is everything is made with chochma, and we see that in everything in the world. The chochma that there is, the unbelievable wisdom there is in the body and in the ecosystem, how the planets work. So everything a deeper touch is kulam b'chochmas is so chochma and asiya have the same value, same connection in front of Hashem because they're both creations. The greatest wisdom and the piece of dirt are an equal value when you put in front of the infiniteness and unformatted energy of Hashem being believable. And so in some ways you see that the lower it is shows on a greater level of koyach of Hashem to create something. When it has some content, you'd say, okay, that sort of makes sense. Something with no content, Hashem could even make such a thing. And with this view, we could understand a little more. You say the lower it is, it comes from a higher level. The lower it is, it reflects a greater koyach of Hashem. So there's a lot of pnimis Torah on this, and it's linked to the topic of what's called olam hatikun and olam hatohu, which is beyond this. I just wanted to bring it out because in this Maimon, the Rebbe brings out the plus that there is in the Levushim, both in that what it accomplishes in the nefesh, and also you see in general terms, physical clothing, where do they come from? Why does it impact the person? Because they come from spiritually from a deeper level than the inyan of Adam. So we're holding in the Maimer, if you're looking around note 25, where Rabbi Yochanan says that my clothes gave me honor. Why? Because the source of the clothing is higher than the person. That's the physical clothing. So now we have also the spiritual garments of the person. Also, we find this with the garments of the soul. Thought, speech, and action. That in some ways, the sheirish halavushim holamayla nefesh. That the source of these levushim of thought, speech, and action are higher than the nefesh. Therefore, the tariyag mitzvahs. Therefore, using out machshava dibra maisa of the tariyag mitzvahs through learning Torah, shahem levushi the nefesh alikis, and these are the garments of the nefesh alikis. Is what happens is nasa aliyah b'hanashama. This affects an elevation of the neshama higher than it is on its own, because it has a certain connection and love to Hashem as it is in the spheres above, in the high spiritual worlds, and when it comes down into the body, that's hidden. So there's an avodah to reflect on what the neshama is l'mayla. Neshama l'mayla is a bundle of godly energy, feels close to Hashem, gets plonked into Elam Haz in the body Nevesh Abamas, and it can't express itself. However, through refining the body, through thought, speech, and action of Torah mitzvahs, it elevates the neshama and it spiritualizes, imbues in the body in Elam Hazah a connection to Hashem. This is why the theme of this Maimah is to point out how important, how vital it is, a life of Torah mitzvahs in any level of action, words, and thought, because this is the whole purpose why the neshama comes down and what we can accomplish with it. So the focus was, Yeshua was told by Hashem, get hold of your Richoy. Hashem's telling us today, help hone in your thought, speech, and action to have it focused on Torah mitzvahs. It's vitally important. We're up to the square brackets. The zer gam ma sheha mitzvahs heimel uvushim lahanashama shal yodam davki yochel mahenus uziv shchina. And that's why mitzvahs are also called garments of the neshama. Where is this activated? In Gan Eden. That since the mitzvahs are the will of Hashem, that's something bligvul. The neshama can't really internalize that. However, when we do a mitzvah here, it's not just it's what you see is what you get in this world, a religious act. It's a bond, a connection, and drawing down of godly energy on the neshama, which stays with it forever. And when the neshama leaves the guf and goes up to Gan Eden, then you're able to feel, at least in part, this connection to Hashem that it built over here. That's the gili of Shechina that the neshama felt, the gili of the Ratzon Hashem. But since he did it enclosed in a body, he's now able to experience this beautiful connection and the pleasure that it gave Hashem, fulfilling his Ratzon when he was in the neshama beguf. So that's what souls called Levushay Nefesh. Not only when the neshama here, but when the neshama goes above, it's then able to receive through this work that it did here, this special unique connection to Hashem, which is the reward of the neshama. We don't feel it here. At least most neshamas don't feel it here, this connection to Hashem. Deep neshamas do have some of this that reflects, shines into them. But the average neshama picks it up, lamaila, and the vessel through which you're able to receive it is through the mitzvahs here. It's a little bit like sunglasses. You can't look at the sun without glasses. With glasses you can. So it helps take away the high level energy, but you're able to have some benefit from it. So the Levushi and Nefesh, since it's Ratzon Hashem, the Neshama is able through that in Gan Eden to receive the special Gili Shechina. And this is explained in many places in Chassidus. But if a person uses his thought, speech, and action for physical matters only, and he doesn't use the mouth L'Shem Shemayim, those then are the Levush the Nevesh Abamis. This then is the Levush Nevesh Abamis. So what's he used, this special koch that he has? Instead of using out this for Torah mitzvahs, it just becomes a natural thing by him. I'm living. So what